Why does Keanu Reeves, one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, live like a modern monk? He's famous for iconic roles like Neo and John Wick, but his real life is marked by tragedy, quiet generosity, and a modest lifestyle. What lies behind this duality? In this video, we'll decode Keanu Reeves's archetypal code through Jungian psychology. Archetypes are patterns of behavior that shape how we act, think, and feel. And each of us has our own unique pattern. What invisible archetype governs Keanu's choices? How do his shadow and light manifest in his journey? And more. By understanding this archetype, you'll see how similar energies might be shaping your own life, silently influencing your relationships, fears, decisions, and even your calling. What if what defines Keanu is also within you? Stick around until the end to unlock this archetypal map for your own journey. If you love diving deep into the human psyche and uncovering the symbols behind behaviors, subscribe to the channel now and hit the bell, because here, the shadow is decoded with purpose. What drives our behavior? Why do certain narratives resonate so deeply with us? And why do we sometimes act in ways that defy our own understanding? Behind every decision, every legendary tale, and every unforgettable character lies something more profound. Hidden layers of the human mind, inherited patterns, instinctual forces, and ageless energies that shape who we are. Carl Gustav Jung set out to chart this inner landscape. He introduced the concept of the collective unconscious, a vast shared reservoir of symbols and instincts. Within this realm dwell the archetypes, universal templates of emotion, action, and transformation. They appear as the hero, the sage, the rebel, timeless figures that exist across cultures, influencing how we live, connect, struggle, and evolve. Each archetype holds two aspects: the light, our strengths, talents, and conscious potential; the shadow, the parts we suppress, avoid, or fear, yet contain powerful truths. Jung believed that embracing the shadow, rather than rejecting it, leads to authenticity and inner wholeness. The inner dragon isn't meant to be destroyed, but understood and mastered. This is the essence of Jung, the Shadow Decoder. Through this lens, we examine iconic characters not just as stories, but as reflections of ourselves. It's an invitation to explore the depths of the unconscious and uncover the truths hidden beneath the surface. What is your shadow revealing to you? Before fame, before the iconic roles, there was a young man named Keanu who learned early on what absence meant. In his teenage years, he experienced the abandonment of his father. Later, he faced the tragic loss of his best friend, River Phoenix, a blow that left a lasting mark. But the wounds didn't stop there. In 1999, Keanu and his then-partner lost their newborn daughter. Shortly after, she too passed away in a devastating car accident. Keanu doesn't expose his pain in sensational interviews, nor does he seek attention. He remains silent. And that silence speaks. Within it lies deep introspection, a search for meaning, a connection to something beyond the visible. Every measured gesture, every whispered word carries symbolic weight that transcends mere behavior. They are reflections of a soul shaped by irreparable losses, one that has learned to transform suffering into serene presence. This journey of pain and withdrawal sets the psychological stage for understanding the unconscious forces that guide him, and connects us to a central question: what archetypal energy allows such balance in the face of tragedy? While many dive into the lights and excesses of stardom, Keanu Reeves walks in the opposite direction, and that makes him all the more intriguing. He's been spotted riding the subway, sharing lunch with strangers, making million-dollar donations quietly, and turning down massive contracts out of principle. He lives discreetly, without extravagant mansions, flashy car collections, or ostentation. This almost ascetic posture contrasts sharply with the classic Hollywood star archetype. It's not just humility, it's a profound detachment that reveals a unique understanding of fame and material wealth. Keanu seems to operate under a different logic, as if external recognition were irrelevant compared to an inner mission that remains unrevealed. And it's this counterintuitive behavior that prompts reflection. What symbolic force leads someone to reject so many of the pleasures the world offers? This mystery deepens and brings us closer to the revelation of the archetype that governs him. Keanu Reeves doesn't choose roles by chance. He lives them as unconscious extensions of his own journey. Neo in The Matrix is called to awaken from an illusory world and take on a messianic role, despite not seeking that destiny. In John Wick, violence is not pleasure, it's pain channeled after profound loss. Even in lesser-known films like A Scanner Darkly or Little Buddha, there's always a common thread: characters who resist grandeur but ultimately find themselves facing a mission greater than themselves. There's a symbolic pattern here. These roles speak of transformation, spiritual responsibility, and confrontation with the shadow, central aspects of an archetypal energy that Keanu seems to embody. It's as if his own psyche were selecting the scripts that most echo his internal dilemmas, reflecting a movement of healing, transcendence, and deep understanding of human suffering. These traits reinforce the presence of a hidden but powerful archetype, one we are still about to uncover. Keanu doesn't just act. He meditates, reflects, observes. He speaks about death with serenity, about time with humility, and about pain with empathy. In rare interviews, he shares beliefs that go beyond dogma. He believes in invisible connections, in silent purpose, and in the power of simply being present. He is not a guru. He is not a preacher. But there's something in the way Keanu positions himself in life that reminds us of the great seekers, those who walk inner paths even when the world around them roars. This spiritual aura doesn't stem from religion, but from a kind of wisdom acquired through experience, loss, and a continuous gaze inward. He moves between the material and symbolic worlds with ease, as if he knows that every gesture carries a deeper psychic reflection. And it's here that the archetype begins to whisper. Everything points to an ancestral energy shaping his steps, the same one that may be guiding yours, without you even realizing it. There are moments when a man's soul transcends what is visible on the surface. In Keanu Reeves's case, that moment is ever present. He inhabits a symbolic realm that few access, yet many recognize without knowing how to explain it. Today, we reveal what already vibrates silently at his core. Keanu Reeves is governed by the archetype of the sage. This is not about mere intelligence or erudition. The energy of the sage is deep, ancestral, and quiet. It guides the individual inward in search of truths that do not shout, but whisper. And it is in that whisper that Keanu dwells. He does not follow the crowd, does not sell himself to appearances, does not seek excess. On the contrary, he chooses solitude, values silence, and observes the world with eyes that carry 1,000 stories. His reserved demeanor, his aversion to hollow stardom, his serene way of dealing with grief and loss, all suggest that wisdom has chosen him as a vessel of expression. Keanu walks the path of individuation with almost ritualistic patience. He does not seek ready-made answers. He dives into experience, embraces mystery, and allows time to reveal what must be known. Like a true sage, he does not need to teach with words. His presence is already a lesson. This archetype is not something worn like a costume. It pulses in the spirit, and in Keanu's spirit, the sage walks with quiet strength. The sage is not one who hides, but one who preserves himself. He knows the world shouts while the soul whispers, and so he chooses to listen to the whisper. His light does not dazzle, it guides. It is a lantern lit in the midst of inner night, leading the individual through paths of self-knowledge, maturity, and contemplation. His temple is introspection. His prayers are questions. Gifted with rare discernment, the sage breaks with convention. He does not follow the current for comfort, but walks toward clarity. He is curious by nature, not to collect answers, but to expand the boundaries of perception. He meditates, observes, experiments. He values time as an ally of understanding. And it is precisely because he trusts time that he acts with balance and serenity, even when the world demands haste. Among his most evident gifts are objectivity, deep reflection, and sound judgment. He carries the balm of maturity, capable of turning his own mistakes into fertile ground for growth. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every pain becomes a revelation. The sage is autonomous in thought, but not arrogant. He recognizes his limitations and, for that very reason, is persistent in his pursuit of refinement. He does not seek perfection, he seeks meaning, and when he finds it, he shares it with humility. This energy acts as an inner guide that leads us to question, to understand, to transcend. In solitude, the sage is not lost, he is found. It is there, far from the noise, that his projects are born and his ideas take root. He knows that true power lies not in controlling the external world, but in understanding the inner universe. And for that reason, his presence carries a rare peace, a depth that inspires, and a wisdom that transforms. This is the light of the sage. It does not seek the spotlight, but those who cross his path are never the same again. No light shines without casting shadows, and within the sage archetype, this duality is as present as it is necessary. The same pursuit of knowledge that elevates can, if misdirected, become a trap, a golden prison built of theories, abstractions, and emotional detachment. The sage's shadow emerges when intellect becomes armor. He distances himself from emotion not out of wisdom, but out of fear. He avoids the chaos of human experience like someone afraid of getting lost in the labyrinth of imperfection. He isolates himself, not to meditate, but to shield himself from pain. And in that isolation, he begins to confuse depth with superiority, maturity with control, clarity with coldness. Trapped in the tower of thought, the shadowed sage may fall into the addiction of endless analysis, turning every simple gesture into a philosophical dilemma, every decision into an impossible equation. He rationalizes feelings until they lose their flavor. He hides the heart behind arguments, and he believes that by understanding the world, he stands above it. His gaze becomes overly critical, unable to embrace the mistakes of others or his own vulnerability. He seeks answers as if they were shields, and he forgets that sometimes true wisdom comes from allowing oneself not to know. This shadow also carries the risk of stagnation. The sage fears action, fears involvement, fears error. He remains trapped in the safe realm of knowledge and hesitates before a life that demands courage, surrender, and impulse. His intentions may be noble, but his inertia can prevent real transformation. Deep down, the shadowed sage is afraid of being wounded, and to avoid the impact of existence, he chooses to observe rather than participate, becoming a spectator of his own journey. Yet it is precisely here that the opportunity for redemption lies, when he understands that knowledge without heart is sterile, that a mind without soul is noise, and that the most powerful discernment is the one that includes compassion. Keanu Reeves' journey is not merely that of a renowned actor. It is that of a man who embodies, with remarkable fidelity, the intricacies of the sage archetype. His restrained gestures, measured speech, and choice to live outside the spotlight of shallow fame all point to a wisdom that does not boast, but reveals itself subtly. And it is in this eloquent silence that the light of the archetype resides. Keanu is known for his almost meditative introspection. In interviews, he listens with rare attentiveness, responds sparingly, and displays a serenity that transcends the Hollywood scene. This behavior reflects the sage in its purest form, one who observes before judging, speaks only when necessary, and values listening over protagonism. By donating significant portions of his salary to technical crews and discreet funds, he distances himself from ego and walks toward quiet generosity, a classic trait of the sage's light. His personal story is marked by profound losses: the death of his infant daughter, the passing of the woman with whom he planned to rebuild his life, and other painful moments that could have turned anyone bitter. But Keanu transmuted suffering into introspection, and introspection into compassion. He has never been involved in scandals or empty controversies. He lives as someone who has understood that existence doesn't need noise, only meaning. Just like the sage who walks in the shadow of the tree, not in the glare of the spotlight. On the other hand, traces of the sage's shadow also appear in his journey. Keanu has shown, on several occasions, a self-imposed isolation. He lives alone, walks the streets anonymously, often distant from social life. This separation can be read as a defense, perhaps a way to avoid the emotional chaos of human interaction. The shadowed sage does this. He protects himself so much with the mind that he risks abandoning the heart. Extreme shyness, apparent coldness, and constant discomfort with exposure may be symptoms of this shadow, not as flaws, but as parts of the psyche not yet integrated. There's also his nostalgic, melancholic gaze, which seems to carry the weight of unanswered questions. Keanu is the kind of person who sees beauty in the ephemeral, value in silence, poetry in pain. This, on one hand, is the light that contemplates. On the other, the shadow that hesitates. His career, though brilliant, has been marked by long pauses, by escapes from the fast pace of the industry. Like the sage who fears being wounded, he chose to observe more than participate, to reflect more than act. Yet there is redemption in this shadow, and Keanu lives it daily. By returning to the screen with characters who represent the search for purpose, like Neo or John Wick, he doesn't merely perform, he reflects his own quest for meaning. These roles are metaphors for his journey, the man who suffers, who seeks, who transcends. And by sharing his pain with dignity, living with simplicity and walking with gentleness, Keanu turns his wisdom into a bridge, never a wall. His wisdom does not close itself off, it offers itself. Ultimately, Keanu Reeves is the embodiment of the sage who has become human. A man who decided that knowledge is only valuable when accompanied by humility, that pain only transforms when lived with dignity, and that silence is only profound when it shelters a whole soul. He does not play the sage. He lives it every single day. Now I'll give an example of how this same energy manifests in different people. If Keanu Reeves is the silent sage, who contemplates life with an inward gaze, Albert Einstein is the visionary sage, who deciphers the mechanics of the universe with the brilliance of curiosity. Both walk the same archetypal path, but with different strides. Einstein, despite his fame as a physics genius, never defined himself solely by intellect. His light came from philosophical restlessness and a desire to understand the world beyond formulas. He questioned like a child, dared like an artist, and meditated like a monk. The phrase "imagination is more important than knowledge" is not just a quote. It's the confession of a sage who knew that deep truths don't fit only into equations, but also into dreams. Even in the face of rigid institutions and formal systems, Einstein preserved his authenticity. His messy hair, simple clothes, and indifference to fame all pointed to the same essence we see in Keanu: the refusal to get lost in the external and the loyalty to one's inner vision. Both challenged norms, broke patterns, and remained true to what they felt was real, each in their own way. But Einstein also inhabited the shadowy corners of the archetype. In his obsession with reason, he sometimes neglected emotional bonds, struggled with intimacy, and experienced deep isolation. Like the shadowed sage, he dove so deeply into intellect that he momentarily forgot the pulse of humanity. In his letters and personal confessions, there are traces of a man torn between the greatness of thought and the fragility of connection. What makes this comparison magical is realizing how the energy of the same archetype can manifest in completely different settings. One lives under the veil of Hollywood fame, the other under the weight of scientific genius. And yet they share the same core, the same reflective silence, the same search for meaning, the same light and the same shadow. And here the revelation expands. This energy doesn't belong only to the great names of history. It lives in each of us. We all carry the sage archetype within, sometimes dominant, sometimes dormant. And more than that, all archetypes inhabit our being as living expressions of the collective unconscious. They are like divine masks we can wear, like inner voices we can access. The magic of life lies in knowing we are not fixed characters. We are infinite stages. If we choose, we can activate the warrior who fights with courage, the lover who feels deeply, the creator who transforms through art, or the sage who contemplates with clarity. Nothing limits us. Each archetype is a key, and every choice we make can open a new door. Life, after all, is a cosmic stage, and you are the protagonist who chooses whom to embody. In the end, the path Einstein and Keanu walk, each in their own way, is the same one you are walking to. Perhaps with silence, perhaps with questions, but with the same spark inside, the deep desire to understand the world and yourself. It's not about being a genius or a celebrity. It's about recognizing that there is a wise force within you, waiting to be heard. And sometimes all that force needs is a conscious choice, a moment of courage, or a simple pause to look inward. Have you ever felt that calling? A sense that something greater is guiding your steps, even through uncertainty? If this message touched you in any way, if it reminded you of a phase in your life, someone special, or even an old dream, share it in the comments. Your story might be someone else's awakening. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment sharing how the sage archetype has appeared in your journey. Your voice matters. Your story transforms. Let's ignite this flame that connects us all. If you've made it this far, it's because you understand that there is an invisible power at work in your life, shaping your decisions and your destiny. You've just seen how archetypes control the most iconic figures in history and pop culture, from Keanu Reeves' journey of transcending loss to Albert Einstein's visionary genius. But what if I told you that this same secret code is at work within you, shaping every behavioral pattern, every repeated mistake, and every victory achieved? True self-knowledge isn't just about understanding why you act a certain way. It's about having the power to change it. It's about polishing your character, minimizing the mistakes that sabotage you, and maximizing the strengths that lead you to success. In my ebook, The Archetype Hack, I give you the complete map for this journey. With it, you will discover your dominant archetype and your true essence. Learn to bring light to your psychological shadow, transforming undesirable feelings into a driving force for your spiritual evolution. Do a self-inquiry exercise to rewrite the beliefs that limit your destiny. Study the 12 main archetypes and become free to activate the energy of any of them. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have the discipline of a born leader or the courage of a world-changing innovator? With archetypes, you can activate these energies in your favor, just as Keanu channeled the wisdom of the sage to find peace, and Einstein used his to unlock the secrets of the universe. And that's not all. To ensure you transform all this knowledge into real action, I have included 2 bonuses that are as valuable as the book itself. A powerful self-hypnosis technique to combat and overcome self-sabotage once and for all. The Nikola Tesla 3-6-9 technique, an infallible tool to manifest any goal you desire in your life. These bonuses are not mere extras. They are the keys that will open the doors to a new reality. Now you have 2 options. Continue watching analyses of other people, or start rewriting your own story. The journey to your maximum potential begins now. Click the link below and acquire The Archetype Hack. Don't wait any longer to become the creator of your own reality.